Hello folks, I hope you're having a wonderful end to your week. We're currently on Thursday and you're plodding along through the week. Well done to you. If you like what I do, the subscribe button is down below, the Patreon button is also down below. If you would like to get involved in the prize draw that is going to take place on Monday or maybe even Sunday, depending on how my energy levels are over the weekend, all you need to do is be a patron at any level or be a member of the channel. Once you're involved in one of those two things, you will get an entry for every one of those that you are. So if you're a patron and a member of the channel, one thing, you're a legend. Number two, you'll be entered twice into the prize draw. The absolutely brilliant prize we have is £50 worth of models from Composite Games' library of stock. They carry everything Games Workshop and things like that, so anything that you might want with the new Leviathan box set up until other things. I don't know, I'm not sure if they can get you Leviathan, but they will certainly put one aside for you to put your £50 towards, I guess. So yeah, anything £50 is yours on Composite Games if you win the prize draw. And if they can't get it to you because you're in some weird place like New Zealand or somewhere, I will get it and I will send it to you direct. Can't say fairer than that. So, first of all, over the past few days, I've been in contact with a few people that I used to know, generally in the hobby, just getting to, doing the rounds, essentially, and trying to make sure that people are happy with what's going on in the hobby right now. And one thing that keeps turning up is the Leviathan box set. Sorry, my words have gone from my mouth. The Leviathan box set and its scarcity right now. The other day I was going for a night out in Liverpool and I just thought, you know what, casually I'll pop into the Liverpool store, see how people are. I try not to speak when I'm in there because weirdly some people do recognise the voice, and I've been asked to leave one Games Workshop before, which wasn't very nice. But anyway, walking in there, I started looking around for the Leviathan box set, and lo and behold, I couldn't find it anywhere. On talking to one of the staff, one of the very nice, helpful staff, I do recommend Games Workshop Liverpool, they're very nice in there. He said, yeah man, every single time we get one, they sell out. They just sell out, they're gone, they sell out. That's it. So, almost everywhere, the Leviathan box set, the 10th edition starter box set, is completely sold out. The only places that seem to have them are places that are staggering their selling of their box sets to ensure that everybody who needs one, hopefully, gets one. Travelling Man, Element Games and others are doing this practice to answer the lack of copies that Games Workshop is throwing out there to their stock accounts. As we know, stock accounts to Games Workshop are essentially any store that carries their products but are not Games Workshop stores. So, your friendly local game store essentially. Fun fact, GW cannot stagger their releases this way, or at least they're not supposed to. A Games Workshop manager is supposed to get his stock and sell it as soon as he can sell it. He's not supposed to hold it back and stagger it to release so people can actually get hold of it if they don't have the money on them right now. He's not supposed to do that. So most of them don't, which is why almost no stockists of GW actually have any Leviathan box sets available. I will be frank and say that I think the Leviathan box is so scarce right now, the fact that it is a disgrace. There are ways and means of combating the problem that could be implemented relatively quickly. And if you can see on here, we actually have a rather horrid example of what we're going to be looking at, and that is these. So Travelling Man doing a good job for everybody, trying to keep the box sets going. They're doing a really good job. You can pre-order this for the 23rd, to get there on the 24th of June. It will be dispatched to you on the 23rd of June. So they are either getting a new batch of stock in, very limited, or they've been staggering their initial stock release. Most stores I have spoken to are doing this. If they're given 100 copies of Leviathan, which they're not, but if they are, then they stagger it to release in like 30 copy period. So in one release window there'll be 30 copies sold, and in another one there'll be 30 copies sold, and staggering it going on through the weeks. The reason that they do that is because, number one, it deters scalpers. Scalpers are the people who want to get in there and buy a box set to make it incredibly rare and make sure that they have all of the stock available to them so they can start selling it to you at a higher price. It's economics 101, right? They used to do it in medieval sieges. As soon as there was a siege, all of the food would be going to the rich, would be held by the rich, and they would sell it at a marked up price to everybody in the town, right? Exactly the same kind of economic scam is going on here. And that is what people like Travelling Man are trying to combat. If you go on the GW website themselves, you will see a share button here for Leviathan. But, yes, available while stocks last. There is no stock. They're all gone. So yeah, you can't actually buy Games Workshop's flagship product from Games Workshop. Go effing figure. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. And I've said it for ages. I have said it for a long, long, long time. So, I will keep harping on about this until it changes. And I am sorry if it gets boring, but I'd rather bang this drum and advocate for you, if I can, with my small presence on YouTube, rather than using it to try and get free products from Games Workshop by being nice to them all the time. Having limited stock of any new model release simply plays into the hands of scalpers that will take that model release, buy it from Games Workshop at RRP, recommended retail price, they will double its price, and then sell it on eBay or some other site, at which point some desperate hobbyist with more money than sense will buy it from them at that price, as, thanks to other scalpers, they can't get the box set anywhere else. Games Workshop doing this with any new box set is bad. Imagine doing it with the brand new Warhammer 40,000 edition starter box set, your flagship release. That is where we are. So I popped into Games Workshop Liverpool myself the other day to try and get a handle on the situation. I have a friend who runs a Games Workshop store in the southeast. I'm not going to name his store. Don't want to dox him. It's a relatively small store, and he's been with the company now for about 10 years, and so he's seen the release of a few starter box sets in his time. He, like me, remembers the 8th edition release, and no matter how many Dark Imperium box sets we sold at that time, more kept turning up in our restocking from HQ. So every other Thursday, we would get a big box from HQ. They would look at what we've sold on the stock list, and they would restock our store. They would give us stuff from right from the presses. So if I've sold you, like, let's say 5 sets of Devastator Marines, right? Games Workshop will see that in the stock, and they will send me 5 sets of Devastator Marines in my next order, in my next stock order, right? If I wanted anything in particular to stock, I would have to talk to them and ask them for it. And invariably, they would give it to me. As long as there was demand for it, and somebody wanted to buy it, they would give it to me, Anyway. So, with 8th edition, with that box set coming out, whenever we sold the Dark Imperium, a new one would appear. This was a new edition of 40k. A huge reset for the hobby and game itself. Games Workshop wanted everybody who could get one a copy. If you couldn't afford it, Games Workshop would bring out smaller editions of the same rules to ensure the new status quo of 40k, their flagship game, was being ingrained into the fan base at a base level. In short, this is how you should do every new 40k release in terms of a new edition. We know Games Workshop can do it. They've done it before, and quite recently, and quite well. Right? At his Games Workshop, as in my friend, he has no copies of Leviathan left to sell, and he doesn't see much chance in having any for the summer window at all. Every time he gets one in, it is immediately sold and gone, or pre-ordered and gone. So, why the change in tactic? It's quite simple, really. They have you now. You've bought in. Hell, we even saw Games Workshop create the Indomitus box set of 9th edition on demand. You order a copy, Games Workshop print one out, and they send it to you. You eliminate scalping altogether. And by the way, scalpers were still around. You just weren't forced to buy your box set from them. Scalpers were still around, you just didn't have to deal with them. You could just go on and get your box set from Games Workshop themselves. This has been done before, so why could it not have been done immediately at the start of 10th edition to ensure that everybody who wanted a copy could get one? The reason is this, folks. They don't have to. And they want to create a sense of precious rarity around their products. I've told this story many times, but I did ask, why don't we ever do sales? And my trainer told me the exact same reason Games Workshop will never do a sale of any of their products. To do so will lower their mystique and make them just like any other box on a shelf in any other store on the high street. They are a specialist hobby and they like to be seen that way, but they like to make sales as if they're an EA or, you know, something that's not exactly precious. Not only this, but Games Workshop's tactics to limit scalpers by limiting copies to 2 per person and having queues on their website to buy it means relatively little when we look at when we look at how organised scalpers actually are online. They have WhatsApp groups, they have entire websites, Reddits, and everything there ready for them to go and liaise with each other to get a conglomerate of people together to buy up all of the Leviathan box sets and then sell them at a marked up price and then share the profits therein. These are organised people. They're not criminals. What they're doing technically isn't illegal, but they are definitely organised. This is a racket. You don't get rid of a racket by putting in some blasé, limit on how many they can buy. They will find a workaround, and they have found a workaround. Take a look at eBay for the Leviathan box set. It's there. Take a look at any reseller website that allows peer-to-peer selling. It's there. In the same quantities that new releases from Games Workshop have always been there, and at eye-watering markup prices as well. This was a token gesture by Games Workshop to stop scalping. It was a token gesture. It meant nothing. Games Workshop knows it, the scalpers know it, and now you know it when you try and get your copy of Leviathan from eBay or anywhere like that. And they took full advantage. Games Workshop does not care who buys their box set, so long as it sells and somebody buys it. If scalpers drive up the fear of missing out from your fanbase, that only guarantees further huge demand for your next starter box set. It's a win-win for Games Workshop. I'm seeing Leviathan on eBay with starting bids of £160. That's already £10 above the recommended retail price of the product, and that will only get higher as more bids come in. You can see here, Leviathan priced at £150, which is, by the way, the most expensive starter box set Games Workshop have ever done, which is a disgrace in itself. £150 as a starting gesture to get into a hobby is stupid. Especially a hobby made of flimsy plastic miniatures. Right? You could buy a PC for double that price that runs you nearly every game on the market right now. How is this £150? Anyway, moving on. Look, and by the way, before I move on. Sorry, just taking a sip of tea. Before I do move on, I do understand that this is a niche hobby. I understand that hobbies should cost more money than most things out there at the moment. I get that, I do. Honestly, I do. But the starter box set is supposed to be the starter box set. You're supposed to buy it first. When you go into a Games Workshop store and you say, I'd like to get into the hobby, if they have a Leviathan available, what do you think they're going to try and sell you? Yeah, Leviathan. They're going to try and sell you Leviathan. Why? Because that's the starter box set. And Games Workshop always want to grow the hobby. I can testament to this completely, right? There's one thing that Games Workshop wants to do is make the hobby bigger because they make more money. Which is why our key performance indicators in our stores were all about selling the starter box set. It was how many Dark Vengeances do you sell? How many Dark Imperiums do you sell? They didn't care about anything else. You could sell... if somebody came in and said, listen, I want to start a Tau army, I've never done this hobby before, I want to get started with the Tau. You would have to sell them a Dark Vengeance box set in 7th edition, or that didn't count as one of your KPIs. Never mind that you've gotten somebody into the hobby, which is the entire point in its entirety. Didn't matter, right? They just wanted to sell you the starter box set. It is the same with 10th edition. They want this box set sold to new people coming into the hobby. Do not get me wrong. Games Workshop are not sitting there trying to ensure that only scalpers get their hands on this box set. That's not what they're doing. They would rather scalpers just pissed off and were never around ever again, and that we all got a copy of Leviathan. But their token gestures in combating scalping is a slap in the face to the people who keep the lights on at that company by buying their products in the first place. It is. Another slap in the face is the price itself. The price itself is ridiculous. You know? I tend to remember, you know, the Dark Imperium hovering around £100 when that came out. Went out £50 more than that, and yeah, I think Dark Imperium was a better box set than this. I'm going to be blatantly honest. I really do. You know, I love the Death Guard in that box set. I love some of the absolutely cool models you can get for the Death Guard in there. I love the Space Marines in that box set. The Space Marines in this box set are more specialised, I grant you, but this isn't the start of an army in your box set. This is the elite choices of your army are in this box set, which is fine. But still, it's not really a starter box set if you're going at Space Marines, you know? Anyway, moving on. Moving swiftly onwards. So, what can we do to combat this? It's alright me sitting here, I say it in every single one of these videos that I do, it's alright me sitting here and moaning, but what would I do about it? How can we combat this problem? Well, relatively simply, and I touched on it before, make Leviathan made to order right now. Whilst you are at it, make sure that independent stockists have levels of stock that can actually meet their demand. So, if I order a Leviathan box set, you make it at your warehouse, you put it together, and you send it to me. You make sure I can get it. There is no reason to have limited stock on a core starter box set that supposedly everybody entering into the hobby should be able to get. This is no longer a starter box set. This is just a box set that celebrates the start of a new edition. I'm telling you now, I know they will try and sell it this way, but if you started the hobby, right, I cannot recommend you this Leviathan box set if you're starting out. I can't. It costs too much money. There's too many specialised troops in it for starters. Okay, one of the factions in the box set doesn't actually fit into the rules. As in the Space Marines there, go read up what's in the box set. Your Stern Guard veterans, your Flamers, right? A lot of these things do not... You couldn't just run it out the box in a full game of Warhammer 40k. You'd need other things. You need more troops for starters. Unless you're going to run the smallest, the really smallest game that you can actually run, then yeah, you can run. But you can't run everything that's in the box set, in the smallest part of 40k. The starter box set at 40k should have 2 complete small armies in the box set. That's it. It should have 2 complete small armies. We have 1 in this box set. And that's Tyranids. Right? That's a small army of Tyranids. That is a small group of elite Space Marines. I don't know. I cannot recommend this box set as a starter box set because it's not a starter box set. Okay? We should have 2 box sets. We should have 2 armies in the box set ready to go. Ready to go right there. Without any rule bending at all. Sure, you can bend the rules and fit these Space Marines into any sort of battle that you want. Sure, you can. But you shouldn't need to. You shouldn't need to. So make Leviathan made to order right now. If I order it, I can get it. I'm telling you now, the reason why it's not made to order is because this isn't a starter box set anymore. Games Workshop know that. They know it's a box set for the people already in the hobby to celebrate the release of the new edition, and so they can employ FOMO, fear of missing out. They can put it into limited stock and make sure that only people who really want to give them money, i.e. whales or scalpers, are ever going to get their hands on a copy of Leviathan. I know a lot of you in the comments have been saying, well, I got my Leviathan for $200 from this other place. Dude, if you're paying over the odds for your Leviathan, you're not getting it as standard. You're still being taken advantage of with FOMO. If you're paying above the recommended retail price, you're being taken advantage of. That's what's happening there. Okay? If you did get a product like Leviathan, if you got one, well done to you. Right? You're probably one of the first ones that would go in there. Or your store is staggering their release to make sure everybody gets one. But hey, you know, what do I know? Whilst you are at it, make sure that any of your independent stockists have levels of stock that can actually meet their demand. Independent stockists, trade accounts are very small businesses, and Games Workshop do not treat them with anywhere near the respect that they deserve, because they deserve a lot of respect because they're the ones who keep the hobby going when Games Workshop take advantage of you with their ridiculous pricing models. What do? They ensure that these independent stockists have very few avenues from which to sell a Leviathan box set, and even if they do, they get it and it's immediately out the door, unless they stagger their own releases. These independent stockists are the ones that are looking out for your interests. People like Travelling Man, people like Element Games, people like Composite Games, right? They stagger their releases to try and make sure that you have access to this box set whenever you've got the money to buy it. If your payday, right, was at the start of a month, so you didn't have the money to go and get Leviathan when it released from Games Workshop, fuck you, you don't get it. Because you didn't give us the money straight out the gate. You don't deserve it. That's not what independent stockists say. Independent stockists try to make sure that you can get your hands on these models, and each and every single one of you will say that the Games Workshop limiting their own stock makes their jobs 10 times harder. Please, Games Workshop, care about where your money comes from, instead of selling your own fans down the river by refusing to implement proper procedures that will combat scalping. We love Warhammer. We would have FOMO even if there was a copy of Leviathan to go around for everybody who wanted one. We would still have FOMO. We would still give you money. We would still go and buy it on release. Hell, I used to be this way with the old Eldar box sets. I was sure there would be none left on release. I was sure of it. Although there was always one there for me to get, I would always race to the store and buy one just in case. Stop gouging us. Stop raising your prices year on year or month on month. And stop forcing us to run at you like it's Black Friday with our money if we want your latest release. Guys, make models and sell them. That's your business model. Fucking stick to it, please. What do you guys think? Am I overreacting in my response to being, having limited access to things like Leviathan? Have I carved on about this a bit too much? This will be my last video on Leviathan for quite a while, so I wanted to just bookend all my arguments with one last hurrah to say, look, this is what I think, and then we're moving on. Because I can't talk about this anymore, it's too depressing. I have too many friends who don't have access to this box set, that I have to then tell, hey, I'm going to get my box set because, Composite Games look after me in the channel, and they're going to make sure that I can get one to do an unboxing video with, even though it'll be really late because, Composite Games don't get very many copies because, Games Workshop stagger their releases. Well, Games Workshop don't stagger their releases. Games Workshop make it incredibly rare for them to actually get one, for them to hold for me. It's horrible, and I don't like the fact that my friends are being taken advantage of. Which is what they are. They're having their love of this hobby weaponized against them to gouge their wallets, to make sure that they're going to be standing there in a line waiting for this starter box set when there should be more than enough copies to go around. And if there aren't, make them to order. Simply say, we can't get this to you within 3 weeks. If you order it in 3 weeks, it will be with you because you'll make it to order. That'd be fine. People would, even if you said a month, even if Games Workshop said, listen, if you order this, we'll make it to order, it won't be with you within a month. It'll be just after a month, then it'll be with you. People would still be fine with it, because we're still getting our hands on the starter box set. The only reason why they don't is because they like it being a rare thing. They like to make sure that there is fear of missing out, and they don't give a shit where the money comes from. They really don't. I think they should. I think you deserve more respect than that. Am I being silly? Let me know in the comment section down below. I love you a long time. I'll be back with some more Hobby Nightmares tomorrow. On Monday, it seems now, we're going to have an epic Hobby Nightmare. It's going to be absolutely huge. But tomorrow's are also really, really, really fun as I try and rifle through this ever-growing mailbag. Please, keep sending in your Hobby Nightmares. I love getting them. And to be involved in the prize draw, this is one of my last calls now for the prize draw. Make sure you're involved in the Patreon or you're a member of the channel, and you'll be involved in that prize draw at the start of every single month. I'm thinking around the 3rd. We will see. Love you a long time. Speak to you soon. And I will speak to you tomorrow. Please stay safe. Have a wonderful day. See you later. Bye.